After going through my top 10 films of all time, I thought the only real next step was to go through my top 10 TV shows of all time. So that's what I'm doing. Starting at number 10 with Joss Whedon's Firefly. Welcome back to Hakuna MaChatter, the diversity in film and TV discussion channel, helping you to better understand the importance of diversity in film and TV. So begins the countdown of my top 10 TV shows of all time. I'll be looking into 10 TV shows and discussing my favourite episodes, favourite seasons, favourite characters, and looking at the show's impact in terms of diversity. A slight deviation from my countdown of my top 10 films of all time, but a necessary one. Let's dive in. So I only watched Firefly, followed by its sequel film Serenity in 2019, and it is one of 3 shows that made its way onto this list in that year. It is an incredible character-driven show, and Whedon managed to create something that is both simplistic and otherworldly at the same time. My only real reference to other works of Whedon are his 2 Avengers films. Obviously, I know his main thing is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. As a kid, I only really watched that sporadically, and I've never gone back to watch it religiously. But looking back at his 2 Avengers films, now having watched Firefly, I can see how Whedon loves to create these incredible moments of dialogue between characters that leave room for the characters' egos to clash, along with mutual care and understanding. And it's those moments that draw you in, that really help you learn a character's nature. Sure, they could perform massive acts of heroism or betray those closest to them, but it's those little moments of 1 or 2 lines that are thrown as jest in the middle of a gunfight that really engage. Right, so my favourite season of Firefly. God, it's a tough one. I think I would have to say season 1? Yeah, I think the first season of Firefly is definitely my favourite. Look, it's such a shame that this show was not at least renewed for a 2nd or 3rd season. It really deserved it, and when I finished watching it, I was left with nothing but wanting more. You know, will Captain Reynolds and Inara finally get together? Will someone offer Jane enough money to actually take a shot at Mal? And will Simon really find out whatever happened to River? I know a lot of these things were sort of lightly touched on in Serenity, but not to the extent I want to see. And all these questions and more were what I was left with after finishing Firefly. I find it difficult to latch onto new TV shows, especially when they have episodes that are 45 to 50 minutes long. It's a heavy commitment, and in recent times I've tried shows like Titans and The Witcher and gone back to Gotham, but they're still failing to hook me in the way that Firefly did. So moving on to my favourite episode, and I have to give it to Out of Gas, which I'm sure to a lot of die-hard Firefly fans out there, that is no surprise. This episode is broken up into 3 different time streams, and it shows how and why Mal chose the crew he has around him and how loyal he is into keeping them alive. And this harkens back to what I was saying at the beginning of this video, and how that this is a character-driven show but in a simplistic way. The plot is really simple. Engine blows, life support fails, Mal orders his crew off the ship. From there we could see the respective crew members go off to get help, but we don't. Instead we stick with the events of trying to get the crew off the ship, the aftermath of them leaving, and why they all came to be there in the first place. It could have so easily been a race against time kind of plot, but instead it was a countdown to a perceived inevitable death, which is really kind of morbid, but people are different in the face of death, and this shows with Mal's reaction. He might be slightly scared, but he holds full assurance in his crew. And so moving on to my favourite character, and I think I have to give it to Mal, which is probably a bit cliched, but Nathan Fillion does an amazing job in creating a layered character, one that we want to kick in the nuts for being an arsehole, but we also want him right there in the front leading us through. I don't think there is really much new I can say about him, and I'm sure if Mal was a real person he'd want me to go on and on and on, so for that reason I'm keeping it short and sweet. So let's talk about the show's diversity, of which it's really good. I'm going to point out the obvious here, but the show's main cast is made up of 5 men and 4 women, 2 of which are black actors, 1 is Portuguese, and 1 has Native American roots, giving the show a great birth of representation. Moreover, and this is key to me, a character's race is never a focal point of a storyline. They are just who they are based on their own integrity. When it comes to gender and the roles female characters play in Firefly, you can see how similarly with Buffy, Whedon gives his female characters full autonomy, and they are not there solely to further the male characters' arcs. This goes for all of our 4 female leads, but I want to take a quick look specifically into Inara and Kaylee. I watched the show at a time where female characters have an occupation in TV and film, and they are not judged for it like they used to be. Firefly is a show that was created in the early noughties, and it was telling the world that Kaylee is a damn good engineer. In fact, she is better than anyone she comes into contact with. And Inara, she chose her role as a companion, not through ill means, but because she genuinely enjoys it, and it's a decision she has made and continues to make for herself. Of course, you could argue that at times Inara's role is there just to further the storylines of Mal, but that's a video for another time. And look, I don't sit here saying that I have all the answers and I know what's best. I don't. But the roles that the female characters have in Firefly is one of the main reasons this show has made my top 10. Firefly was an instant hit with me, and I can't wait to sink my teeth back into it. Make sure you're here next Friday for place number 9 as all-out war spreads across a galaxy. Want some more content? Make sure you click here and here. Want to subscribe for future content? Make sure you click right here. Hakuna MaChatter.